Joy is a pretty subjective thing, but behind every subjective entity lies some basic and fundamental psychological principles. A couple of weeks ago on GetPsyched, we looked at the psychology of hate. Well, this week we're going to be taking a look at the psychology of joy. Hey guys, welcome to another week's episode of GetPsyched, where this week we're going to be taking a look at the psychology of joy. If you've been enjoying the videos on GetPsyched, if you're new to GetPsyched, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, and you can hit that little bell next to the subscribe button and get reminders every time I upload. And if you're enjoying the videos, then make sure to hit that like button, and you can also share these videos too. Anyway, let's get into the video. And I think we need to start with an understanding of the definition of what exactly joy is. And I think one of the best ways to describe what joy is to look at it when we look at happiness versus joy, what that difference means. Well, happiness fundamentally is based on external things, or external stimuli, for example. It's based on situations and people's and even thoughts to an extent. Happiness is also linked to the chance of positive things happening for you. For example, when I get that promotion or when I get that pay rise, then I'll be happier and everything will be okay. Happiness relies on the development of all of these external factors in order to give you that happiness that you're desiring. So that means that when these things don't line up, then your happiness is jeopardized. So from that basic, very fundamental understanding of what happiness is, we can understand that happiness is not joy, and therefore joy must be something else. And fundamentally, joy cannot be bought. It's not external like happiness is. For example, you might not have the things that make you immediately happy, but still have a strong foundation of joy. Another point to add to this is that happiness is really fragile. We have certain things, we buy certain things that we think are going to make us happy, and then that kind of fades out and we try and replace it with other things that we then think are going to make us happier. These things don't have any longevity, and it shows just how fragile happiness is. For example, my partner left me, so I'll find someone that's really similar to them. And then that partner leaves, and so on. Another example is moving house. Maybe you buy a new house and you're really happy with it for a couple of years, but then down the street there's a new development of bigger houses. All of a sudden your house doesn't seem that great and your happiness is jeopardized until you can get to that bigger house down the end of the road. That's a really, really basic example, but it shows you a little bit about what I mean about the fragility of happiness and actually where we get our happiness and what happiness is all about. The impact and the change of these external factors influences the level of happiness that we feel. Things that make us happy can be lost, but that sense of joy can be an internal thing that can come from ourselves, and it can still be strong even when we lose those external things that initially made us happy. So what exactly stops us from experiencing more joy? Research by Shelley Gable states that we actually have 3 times more positive experiences on average than negative ones in our country today. Yet so often we struggle to experience joy. And the same research such as Gable's has stated that there are 2 things that stop us from experiencing joy. These 2 things are negative biases and habituation. Negative biases mean that we give more weight and importance to the negative things in life. And habituation means that we eventually get used to those positive things or those positive experiences in our life, and eventually they lose their potency. So therefore, with an understanding of what negative biases are and habituation and how that influences our inability or challenges to experience more joy, how do we get over these things and how do we start getting more joy in our lives? Well, first thing is that we need to understand and work on our negative biases and our habituation. The negative biases aspect of why we struggle to experience more joy, I think, is a really interesting factor. One of the things I would say about this is, again, it's very subjective. And if you experience negative biases, if you focus more on the negative things of life rather than the positive things, the first thing that you've got to do is ask yourself why that is. Sometimes people that are perfectionists or very solution focused like to focus on the negative things because it's something that they can fix. Other times people just automatically think that the negative things in life outweigh the positives. Again, you need to ask yourself this question as to why that is for you. Focusing more on the positive aspects of life and discussing them with other people really does help with that aspect of negative biases. Also, when thinking about the differences between happiness and joy, looking at the positive things in a negative situation can actually help with our negative biases as well. We also need to understand some of the cycles that we get ourselves into, things such as gossip, for example, where we bond over the negative aspects of other people's lives or what's going on in the world today. That kind of thinking pattern, that kind of discussion pattern often seems more appropriate than talking about the great things in life. We're built on a society where at times we can bond over the negative aspects of life, and as a result, it can be more challenging for us to experience joy in our lives, and it can be harder for us to discuss the joyful and happy things in our lives. Another thing that I would say here that helps with habituation and negative biases and our overall experience of joy is to keep a gratitude journal, to even just experience gratitude on a daily basis. Lambert conducted a study a number of years ago that looked at gratitude journals, and he actually found that expressing verbal gratitude to other people can actually have a better impact, a more profound impact for our sense of joy than writing in a journal itself. The bottom line with this is that basically if you speak about positive things in your life, if you identify those positive things and let other people know about them, listen to their positive things in their lives, you're automatically going to reduce those negative biases and that experience of habituation to the positive things in life and overall experience more joy. Okay guys, today we've been looking at the psychology of joy on GetPsyched. Like I said at the start of the video, if you've been enjoying GetPsyched, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell next to the subscribe button. I'm also going to be doing a number of speaking events later this year. Middle of November, I'm going to be speaking in Newcastle with the British Psychological Society at an Inspiring Careers event. I'm going to be doing a keynote there about GetPsyched and about my journey in psychology. I'm going to put a link in the description that you can hit that link and check that event out. I'm also holding an event in December in London, December the 17th, with an organisation called GetPsyched, and we're going to be looking at mental health blogging. It's a conference all about mental health blogging. I'm going to put a link to that down in the description as well. You can get tickets, they're like 15 quid, and yeah, hopefully see you there. Again, thanks so much for watching this week's episode of GetPsyched, guys, and hopefully see you next week.